we're talking about really patient capital here. And I think if I hear you, what we're saying is the future of women's health needs investors who are value aligned. It's not about chasing the fast return, which comes in 2-3 years. I mean, some investments will deliver faster, some slower,
Of course,
depending on the innovation cycle.
yeah. Technologies and business models where with wonderful stories and wonderful, let's say, ideas to meet some medical need. But we are in a medical sphere. This is not the lifestyle story. Female health and women health on the table, and of course, this is not alone our thing, but the things changed a lot. But in the end, whatever we are doing, not more than 1/3 are fitting with that assumption, which means in average, and that's the true situation right now outside in gynecology. 2/3 of all the females are not treated belonging their individual biology.
Welcome to Fem Health Founders, the podcast about the innovations and leaders changing the face of women's health. From pioneering entrepreneurs and trailblazing investors to advocates breaking new ground in health and wellness, our guests are driving meaningful change across women's health. My name is Marianne, impact investor and editor of NotestoSelfe, the newsletter exploring the big ideas, trends, and smart capital shaping women's health. Join me and our guests as we dive into the stories, the science, and the strategies making a difference in women's lives. So welcome to today's episode of Fem Health Founders. Today we're diving into a topic that is really close to my heart. So I'm really excited to be talking today about fertility. And this is a topic that's not just close to my heart, but it's also a topic that's close to the hearts of about 12 million women in Europe who dream of starting a family. I'm incredibly excited also today that the guest that we have on the show today is Sebastian Alexander, who is the founder and CEO of VivoSensMedical and an expert in digital women's health and medical devices. His company, VivoSensMedical, is behind OvulaRing, a groundbreaking technology that's empowering women with precise insights into their fertility. Sebastian, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot for the opportunity. It's wonderful to be here.
Absolutely. It's I've wanted to talk to you for quite a while. So, and we've tried to catch up over a few sessions. So I'm really, really excited to be having this conversation. And I think this is a topic that resonates with a lot of not just women, but families in general.
Of course. I'm looking forward to start the discussion.
Absolutely.
Thanks you.
So I think maybe we step back a little bit, and I'm curious, you are a man who is in the space of women's health. I think traditionally when we look at a lot of the founders, they're mainly female founders. And I think there is a sense in the fact that the innovation is coming off the back of an unmet need. So I think it makes sense that a lot of the founders are women who are founding companies to tackle women's health topics from an unmet need that they experience themselves. How did you get into this space? I'm incredibly curious.
That's a family story, because the idea and let's say also the man behind all that is my father-in-law, Professor Dr. Henry Alexander, who was one of the pioneers for IVF and reproductive medicine in Europe. Right. So he started the business in the beginning of the 80s. And I think he was one of the first doctors even delivered an IVF baby in I think in 82 or 83 here in Leipzig, Eastern Germany. And he built up the reproductive healthcare center. And he was he is still a wonderful person and a wonderful doctor. So he's not just a gynecologist, he's also an expert for reproductive healthcare. He's also an endocrinologist, and he's also a doctor for sexual medicine. So I think one of the old school doctors who are not just expert in one field, but much more, let's say, system thinking. So it's much more in a thinking in a broader context, let's say like this. And he was confronted daily in his work, in the talk with the couples and with the females, with the insufficiency of the current let's say, standard of care. So the current methods in gynecological diagnostic we have. So what is that? So we have an vaginal ultrasound and we have an hormone blood sample. And what they are doing is one-point measurements. So if you're going to a gynecologist, then they are checking with a vaginal ultrasound and with a hormone blood sample, normally 3 times in a cycle. And then with this small information, they want to look in one of the complexest biological systems in human medicine from my point of view. And with that insufficiency confronted, my father-in-law said, this is not good medicine, because with that small information, I'm not able to do a good individual diagnostics, because I'm not able to have really objective information about the individual biology. And if I do not have a good diagnostics, then I'm not able to do good therapy. And for that, he came up with the idea, we have a wonderful biomarker we know from science, which is core body temperature. And we know that core body temperature is able to give us objective information about the female cycle. But the problem is, currently from the technology, we are just able to use what we call the basal temperature method. So which is also just a one-point measurement based on the body temperature, core body temperature. And but 1 point a day is not enough to get enough objective data for mapping the entire female cycle. And so at that time, in the beginning or in the middle of the 80s, he was involved with the development at Organon of the OvulaRing. Maybe you know, so the contraceptive ring. And then he said, okay, wonderful. They put hormones inside, that's their business. But what if I could able to find someone who can put me technology inside the ring that we are able to measuring continuously core body temperature? And then we have the purest and best continuous data to get all the information we need, or much more better information we need for the female cycle. So this was the medical need, let's say like this, in the innovation and the concept in a nutshell from my father-in-law. And of course, I know my father-in-law because he's my father-in-law. But I came from another background. But I had some startup experiences in the beginning of my 20s. So I built up a company, and then when I came back to marry my wife, I worked for the university in Leipzig because I tried, or I had the plan to do a PhD. And at the professor where I did the PhD, he was also involved in the startup network. So I did some sort of a technology transfer consultancy for more than 4 years at the University of Leipzig. So helping students up to professors with their wonderful innovations and ideas, from a small business plan up to really venture capitalist, let's say, negotiations and curving out from the university. And this was then the fit. So my father-in-law asked me at the coffee, let's say like this, I have a wonderful idea. I have a patent. We have a prototype. So, but I need someone who helps me with the funding. And for him, it was always funding for research. But it was, after a small discussion, it was really clear that this is a topic where we need to curve out a company from the university to get the product to the patient, because this was his main intention. Because I have the idea, I know I can help my patient. What we can do, help me to bring the product to the females, into the market. And in the beginning, it was not my plan to do that. 12, 15 years, I helped him at my job in the university, but then we drive the story so far that we get the first investment from a regional venture capital fund. And they also said that I had to take over the CEO position. And so then it was a decision of doing the thing or doing it not. So, and this was the starting point. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you mentioned it's a family business. So can you tell us about the other members of the business? Because I know your wife is a core member of the team.
Yeah, I mean, a family business sounds so well ancient and not so startup, whatever. Of course, I mean, the medical innovator behind all that is my father-in-law, which is
Yes.
Professor Henry Alexander. And I am in the company as a CEO, and my wife, Anna Alexander, is in the company, and she is responsible for all the content, the scientific content. So she is responsible to bring that really, sometimes really tricky and not well known, deep knowledge about the female cycle and what that means. So she is writing the texts and all the stories that
Yes.
let's say a normal customer is able to also understand that, and not just a gynecologist or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting. So let's stay on the unmet need for a minute, because I think women who um, have dreams of having a family and find it a bit more difficult, it's a heartbreaking story, and it's very emotional, not just for the woman but for the man as well, who
Of
is
course, yeah.
accompanying her in that journey. So maybe let's talk through what currently obtains today. So you want to start a family, you try a couple of times, you're not getting pregnant, then you start maybe thinking about going to a doctor to understand your levels of hormones, and then all the way through to IVF, and what you think about the IVF cycle as it is.
I mean, yeah, that's the, let's say, at the core of the problem. Because currently the standard of care, as I told, is so the methods we are using, and mainly all the products outside the OvulaRing on the market, are based on two, let's say, assumptions. The first assumption is 1 point measurements.
Yeah.
So even when they are, so the old basal temperature
And that's
method.
the one you take in the morning, the first
Yeah,
temperature in the
yeah.
morning, and that's the 1 point.
Yeah,
That's
and,
it.
and just to tell you, because we did some research with our data with chronobiologists, because the assumption behind the basal body temperature is that the lowest point, the nadir of your temperature within 24 hours, is right in the morning before you're waking up.
Yeah.
But that's not true.
Really?
We could prove that. So it could be, so it's also somehow individual, and it's shifting.
Yes.
So the assumption that the best point in the morning, so the basis for the assumption for the basal body temperature is false, first of
Wow.
all.
Wow.
Second thing is 1 point measurements are not enough.
Yes.
And the third thing, which is maybe the worst story, is that it's always the same, that we still have the assumption of a standard female cycle, which is the 28-14 story.
Yes.
Which not just we learn at school, which also they are studying at the university. So 28 days is the normal standard average of a female cycle, and the ovulation is right in the middle.
That's what we learned at school.
That's what we learn. That's also the assumption of the gynecologist, and that's the basis for all diagnostics, therapies, and the IVF we have.
Yes.
So all billions of females all over the world are putting in one basket, 28-14.
Yes.
We have right now, when we are looking at our data, which is, from my point of view, the biggest database worldwide we have about that, but more than 50,000 cycles, continuous measured core body temperature. If we are putting 28-14, asking the database, the result is 2%.
Wow.
I mean, we have a ±5, so that's
Yes.
normally in the medicine some let's say small shifts. But in the end, whatever we are doing, not more than 1/3 are fitting with that assumption.
Yes.
Which means, in average, and that's the true situation right now outside in gynecology. 2/3 of all the females are not treated belonging their individual biology.
Yes. So it's not personalized for
No,
a
and
lot
it's a
of the
big
females.
it's a big problem. And
Yes.
also this is a big problem for the couples who trying to conceive.
Mm-hmm.
Because the diagnostic is so, let's say, not it's so bad
Mm.
that in the end the possibility that you're getting a false diagnostic is really high. Yeah, and we know that from our data, we know that from our customers, but we know that also from other, let's say, publications and data in the literature,
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of females are sent to an IVF
Mm-hmm.
without the proper diagnostics,
Wow.
and then starting really a harsh therapy. I mean, so and then additionally, we have two, let's say, psychologically mental problems. One is
Mm-hmm.
on the, from my point of view, on the side of the couple,
Mm-hmm.
because we are used to that, let's say, to an on-off medicine. So
Mm-hmm.
normally a female in the modern Western world is taking a contraception pill during their young years. Yeah,
Yes.
starting with, let's say, 16, 17, 18, something like that, going up to, let's say, 10 years. And then it's like taking the hormone pill. It's normal, like taking an aspirin.
Mm-hmm.
And so the couple is thinking, okay, now I'm ending to take the contraceptive, and then we will have sex, and then 2, 3 months later, we will be pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we are used to that on off. So if I have a headache, or if I have some pain, I taking an aspirin, or I taking a pill, and the pain is gone. Uh,
That's right.
but this is not working because our hormone system, and especially the female hormone system and cycles, is really highly complex, and it's not a story what we can able to shift on, shift off, and something like that. And then the pressure starts, the mental pressure. So
Yes.
the couple is starting trying to conceive,
Yes.
and then I mean, we have that. We have customers on the phone asking us, I tried to become pregnant one
Mm-hmm.
month.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work. Should I buy the OvulaRing, or should I go directly to an IVF?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a little bit harsh in the story,
Mm.
but let's say this is a part of the normality outside,
Yes.
and then it doesn't work. Then the couple goes to the gynecologist, and they are starting their standard of care diagnostics, and the probability that they are telling them, you have something PCOS, or you have irregular cycles, or something
Mm.
like that, if that happens, the chance that they will send it directly to an IVF is really high.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that's a
Well,
problem.
that's, I think that is so clear. You paint a really clear picture. I think for me, what I'm taking away is that when it comes to fertility, the current diagnostics methodology that we have is not enough. We have, I think it's two things. First is, for a lot of us, we use the 1 point measurement. I grew up knowing that you have the 1 point measurement, the basal temperature first thing in the morning, but that's a 1 point measurement, which is not enough. And I think importantly, you've mentioned also that sort of the assumption that actually underlines the measurement of that temperature first thing in the morning, that's also not entirely correct. So we have a situation where a lot of women are maybe being sent to IVF without first having the proper diagnostics. That's
Definitely. And then comes the second point, because reproductive medicine and IVF is, yeah, it's women health, of course,
mm-hmm,
but it's mainly ignoring the male.
mm-hmm,
because often it happens that first of all the therapy starts with the female without checking any kind of what maybe there is a problem with on the male side. And we know from statistics that 50% of the story is on the male side. But I would say nearly 100% of the therapy starts with the female. And we do have stories that after 2 or 3 IVF cycles, or after a couple of years trying to therapy the female side, they are starting to look deeper into the male side, and then, oops, oh no, it wasn't the female, it was the male. Sorry for that. After really, I mean, we are laughing about it, but this is really a harsh therapy. It costs a lot of money.
Yes.
And then telling the patient after whatever 3 or 4 cycles trying on the female side, oh, sorry, we had a deeper look into your partner. It's the male, it's not the female. And that's really, from my point of view, it's a problem. And going back to the IVF, I mean, we have 2 standards protocols, which is a short and a long one. So every female all over the planet is putting into a short or in a long-term protocol. So to be honest, the individual biology of the female doesn't play any role in IVF and reproductive healthcare. So,
how big is this market, Sebastian?
I mean, millions, billions. No, it's growing, especially in Western communities.
Yes.
And we see that it's all, it's coming more and more under pressure.
Yes.
It's becoming more and more expensive. It's becoming more and more cycles, and the system isn't changing. And I think, from my point of view, it's more than the right time to really innovate and change, not even reproductive healthcare, but even also gynecology.
Yeah.
And if we are going back to the inventor of the IVF, Professor Edwards, the Nobel Prize winner, so the first IVF started in a natural cycle. And he always told in the end of his life that we have to go back and much and more and more introducing individual objective knowledge and data about the female into our therapies.
Yeah.
And that's crucial.
So I think to me, the unmet need is clear. And this is a market that, as you say, is big and is growing. And it's a market it's a condition that doesn't just affect women, it affects the society at large.
Yep.
And there are consequences which are not just limited to, say, reproductive health, but also mental health. So I think, looking at the problem that you're trying to solve, as a founder in this space, I'm keen to understand, what are the challenges that you faced being a founder in this space?
A lot of. I mean, the first challenge is, as I told, we started the business 12 years ago. So nobody was interested in female health, women health, or something like that. So it was the old, let's say, contraceptive pill story. And everybody was thinking that there will be no innovation in female health.
Yes.
That's where we started the business, and the story why we get the money was the unintended child wish. And so the IVF story, because let's say all the male we talked about, this was a story they understood.
Yes.
So first of all, the first challenge was putting female health and women health on the table, and of course this is not alone our thing, but the things changed a lot. when we compared it 12 years ago.
Yes.
So right now, it's wonderful that we can talk in that intense about women health and female health.
Yes.
I mean, it's still on a low level, but we do have a level. So 12
Yes.
years ago, there was level 0. Right
Yes.
now, we do have a level, so that's wonderful, really.
Yes.
And the second big problem is financing, funding, and resources. Because, I mean, as an example, so I'm always telling that 12 years ago, the first question of a financier pitching OvulaRing was, what's your solution for males? Okay. This was the question 12 years ago.
Yes.
Right now, the question is, can you explain me the niche market?
The niche market.
So now they are understanding that women health is a market somehow. Okay.
Yes.
But they do not understand that reproductive healthcare, IVF, or that endometriosis, or that PCOS really affecting a huge number of females all over the world, or even in Germany. And this is compared to other, let's say, market stories. This is not a niche market. I mean, every topic we are talking about in female health is not a niche market.
No.
So
It's not a niche market.
yeah, but this is the main problem, because we do not have the enough resources really to innovate, let's say, faster. Well, so we have to go step by step. We always have to look for the funding of the next level, and going step by step. Yeah, the way to bring the product not just to the market, but to tell everybody that this is a first choice. I mean, this is the vision of my father-in-law, that we will become the new gold standard. So we will be the gold standard for gynecological diagnostics. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I fully agree with you. It is not a niche market. And I think, as you say, I mean, 5 years ago when we talked about women's health, the question really from an investor point of view was, are you even going to have deal flow? But I think now the conversations are advancing. So I fully agree with you. And I think if we look at a condition like, say, endometriosis, this is a condition that affects 200 million women.
Yeah.
So it's not a niche market. And I'm glad that we're having these conversations, because I think there's also a bit of awareness and education that we as advocates and as practitioners in this space that we need to bring to the public. So I'm really glad to have this conversation with you. I think if I talk, we've talked about some of the challenges. Maybe share some of your recent achievements. I know we've mentioned about the women's health being more on the table, but are there any other achievements that you'd like to share? But also, I think it would be great to have to hear from you what sort of advice you would give to other founders who are interested in picking up women's health as a topic.
I mean, of course, one of the biggest achievements is that we got that product to the market.
Yes.
So the dream of my father-in-law, really based on the daily knowledge and daily experiences with their female patients, we brought that to the market. So that's really an achievement, and we are bringing it on the market in a wonderful product fit. So I mean, we received this year a third time in a row the German Gesundheitspreis in Deutsch, in healthcare prize, something like that, for the best cycle tracker in Germany. And I mean, getting the feedback from all the patients who becoming pregnant, that's a daily wonderful thing to work on.
Absolutely.
The second achievement is that we are now at the stage where we're really collecting data, and really we can start to close the gender data gap. Because in the beginning it was really always the chicken egg problem.
Yes.
You had the hypothesis of my father-in-law. You had the assumption that you can find out that and that, and that you are able to detect ovulation, that we are able to tracking the progesterone, that we are able to get the forecast on fertile days and something like that. And now we are really able to work with the data to prove that, and also to do additional research.
Absolutely.
Because one of the biggest problem additionally in female health is the gender data gap.
Mm. Mm.
Because if you are able to get one of the investors or cooperation partners um, stick to your story, the next
Mm-hmm.
question is what is the validation, what is the proof?
Mm-hmm.
And then you, in the beginning, you had been, I can show you data of 10 females. Next
Mm-hmm.
year, I can show you data of 100 and something like that. And always this was a, a small number.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we have a big data base where we're able to really continuously doing research, and every day we're finding something new
This is,
related to female health and the female cycle.
yeah,
And that's really wonderful.
yeah,
And I hope we can go that way step by step further.
yeah.
Yeah, for me, that's the biggest thing for me for
Yes,
my daily work, that I can do that vision, that I can bring that vision of my father-in-law into the market with a
yes,
wonderful team,
yeah.
and driving, even if I'm male,
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to drive
Abs-
women's health to the next
Absolutely.
level, let's say like this.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think the data that you touch on is so important. And the fact, that you're building this database and you have a huge database, probably one of the biggest databases in Europe, that is fantastic, because I think the future of women's health and of medicine is personalized and precise. And for this personalization, you need data.
Yeah.
Because with the data you can begin to model the personalization based on, say, a blood test, or some samples. So I think having this database and building this data lays the groundwork for so much more innovation in the future, and that's amazing that you've
Yeah.
been building on that for the last 12 years.
Yeah. And that's also, as because you asked about it, this is one of the, let's say, technical advice for founders.
Mm,
The quality of the data is crucial. I mean, I often see concepts and technologies and business
mm,
models where, with wonderful stories and wonderful, let's say, yeah, ideas to
mm-hmm.
meet some medical need, but we are in a medical sphere. This is not a lifestyle story.
Yeah.
So we need good medical data and a good quality of data, because everybody who's dealing with algorithms or AI or something like that is telling
Mm-hmm.
you the story that garbage in, garbage out. So
Yes.
and I often see that it's too fast sketched, and that the quality of the data is too poor and not objective enough, really,
Mm-hmm.
to get precise results in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that's one advice. And the second thing is, as I told you, this is a marathon.
Mm,
Yeah, so I think we are in women health because there's such a huge lack of innovation in women health,
mm.
that the innovation cycle. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing that more than 12 years right now. So
Yes.
the innovation cycle should be longer than 12, maybe 15, maybe 20, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
where we have the result that is such a new methodology, a new perspective
Mm,
on female health and gynecology is really becoming the standard of care for everyone. Yeah.
mm. I love that. Women's health is a marathon. I love that. So, I think, what role do you think, therefore, that investors and maybe the investment community at large play in advancing women's health?
A big role because we need the resources to invest. But currently, I think there are two main problems. The first problem is that in general, the volume which is flowing to women health, let's say like this, is still too low. I mean, of course, like 12 years ago, the level is not zero, but it's also not, it could be higher. And we need much more invest in women health. Yeah, also compared to what is funded in, let's say, male health or general in health. And when I'm looking to women health, also the majority is going to everything about cancer. Yeah, so I think that's one of the main problems, that we need to attract much more funding into that stories of women health. And the second thing is that we have to change the mindset of the investors, because currently the normal standard, let's say, time frame for a return of investment is 5 years. And that's not fitting with what we are doing in the end. So it's a huge market. It's a blue ocean. It's one of the, I would say, one of the biggest invest opportunity in healthcare right now, but not within 5 years. So if you want to take that opportunity and really to change some, and really also to really get attractive return of investments, then you have to change your time frame up to at minimum 10, 15 years.
Yeah. So we are talking about really patient capital here. And I think if I hear you, what we're saying is the future of women's health needs investors who are value aligned. It's not about chasing the fast return, which comes in 2-3 years. I mean, some investments will deliver faster, some
Of
slower,
course.
depending on the innovation cycle.
Yeah.
But the important thing is that your mindset needs to be on purposeful profit. So you're really focused on the purpose and on having that impact, and if that and that means having a longer time frame. So really that sort of patient capital.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Sebastian, how can we help you? I mean, I would love to continue the discussion, but as you know, I speak to a community of value-aligned investors, or values-aligned investors, and I'm really asking you, how can we help you? How can we amplify your work? Because the work you're doing is important. So now it's really a chance for you to speak to the community.
Yeah, thanks for that opportunity. I mean, we are still have a lot of investment opportunities. I mean, when I'm just looking at the list of ideas of my father-in-law, I mean, OvulaRing is not just a thing for IVF. It's really had the possibility to become a gold standard platform for women health. I mean, we do have also customers who are using the product for the support of natural contraception. We do have customers who are using that for menopause reasons. We do have customers who are using that for cycle-based training. We do have concepts for other indications in women health. And we have one of the best, let's say, quality data really to do attractive research in women health. But currently we are going, let's say, step by step. And I would love to accelerate that the journey for the interest in the sake of the females outside. But for that, we need much more resources and cooperations and funding. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. I fully agree with you. It's collaboration, it's cooperation, it's value alignment, and we need to do this all together. Investors, founders, the community at large, coders, developers, we need each other in this ecosystem to advance, to make the advancements for women's health, not just for women, but really for the society at large.
That's true. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time and the conversation. We could go on, but I'm just conscious of your time. Thank you so much, and we will continue the discussion.
Wonderful. Thanks for the opportunity. I
You're,
love the discussion.
you're
Yeah.
very welcome. That's a wrap for today's episode. I hope you found the conversation as inspiring and thought-provoking as I did. If you enjoyed this episode, then please subscribe, leave me a comment, and share it with someone who'd love to join the conversation. Don't forget to follow us for updates on upcoming episodes and more insights into the future of women's health. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep championing the health of women everywhere.